Hi there, welcome to This Is Ibrox for your Sunday session on Sunday the 5th of May. If you're joining us on our Sunday night across our Facebook or our YouTube channels, and we're very grateful for you doing that. My name's Scott Patterson. Thank you for joining us on a Sunday and a weekend where Rangers got a bit closer to a very interesting weekend next weekend, which we will get to as the podcast continues. Joining me to discuss all the bits and pieces that we're going to talk tonight is John Walker. Hi, John. How are you?
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic.
And second contributor of the night and is Reiss. Always good to have you back, buddy. How are you?
Hi, all good. Thanks. All good. Glad to be on.
So, before we get into it, we should, of course, remind you of where you can find us across social media. We are on all the obvious places: X, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're on the Instagram as well, of course, if you're checking us out there. Thank you. If you are following us on our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe, leave a comment, get yourself involved in the comments tonight. If you are listening, let us know what you think of the day-to-day, what you've seen today, and what you're looking forward to in particular for next weekend. John, I'll start with you. I seen something you'd put on your X en route to the game. Always an interesting read is John Walker's X, I should add. A wee bit nervous about Kilmarnock coming to Ibrox today.
Yeah, I mean, I was, and to be honest, I think I was completely justified after 15 minutes. I think I was more fearful of Danny Armstrong. I do actually think sacrificing him was a very weird decision. I would have taken off a centre midfielder and left the two wide boys to counter on us. I thought it was absolutely insanity, especially just trying to break on Barisic. That would have been something I left. But I was concerned. I thought Kilmarnock would have been dogged, would have been hard to break down. First 15 minutes it looked like that, but the game just... That first 20 minutes was just chaos, man. That first 20 minutes is an advert for never wanting VAR in Scottish football or football ever again.
So you're absolutely right. One of the things I think we've all come to probably within the next 30 minutes or so before we get more into the Old Firm piece is the standard of the officiating that we've seen, and certainly the first half this afternoon. I thought David Dickinson had an absolute shocking afternoon, to be perfectly honest with you, at Ibrox today, but we will get to that. John, Ian Mitchell has a wee message for you asking if it's the John Walker Corner Show, which we'll come to a little bit. We'll come to a little bit later on as well. Reiss, same question to you. Kilmarnock coming to town. It's the first of the next couple of big games that we look forward to. Nerves, were they okay, or were you a wee bit freshening yourself on it?
A bit nervous getting into it, because you think about the time we played them at Rugby Park and Lawrence gets a winner. It was nervy. They've got good quality players, like John said. Armstrong and Kennedy are dangerous. Vassell's always a handful. So getting into it, you think they're not sitting in fourth place for no reason. They've had a good season, they're a good team, they're well managed. So it was nervous getting into it, and you're just hoping 3 points. It doesn't matter how, just get 3 points and go abroad. Rangers
started with probably the best available lineup just now, I have to say, and it's a pretty poor reflection of where we are as a squad. Butland, Tav, Balogun, Suter, and Borna Barisic, Lundstrom and Diomande, who we'll speak about tonight. Sterling on the right wing, Cantwell playing off of Dessers, and Silva on the left. John, one of the things I think I put into the WhatsApp chat was it just had a feeling like it was a bit of a horrible lineup. There was nothing about the lineup that made you think, that's quite attractive, that's nice, we're going to be entertained today. There was just something missing.
There's a lot. I honestly feel like there's a lot missing. Like, I'm willing to fully back what's going on at the club, and realising that Clermont does need a full transfer window and a full pre-season to do it properly. But I do think a lot of it is down to individuals doing what they do in certain moments, whether it's Diomande breaking up play and getting the ball forward, whether it's Lundstrom doing what he ended up doing for the goal we got back. Sterling at right wing, there's a lot of people on Twitter and in our fan base that are almost craving. They can smell the end of Taverniers being named second on the team sheet. And everyone seems to be in this default position that Dujon Sterling's a right back that can do that. Dujon Sterling, I'm not even talking a right back that's going to replace James Tavernier. I'm talking about a right back that can deliver crosses from wide areas, put good balls in, can drop a shoulder and whip a ball in. Dujon Sterling had a lot of time to do that today and never successfully put a cross in for most of the game. So putting him right wing, I don't really understand it, because I don't even think he inverts it would allow Tavernier to go forward. it just seems like you're sticking two people in there in a way that I don't really understand. I know Walter Smith used to do it loads with Broadfoot and Whittaker, but Stephen Whittaker was an incredibly talented dribbler and could do things himself.
Yeah. Do you know, one of the things I've written down here, Reiss, is I almost wouldn't like to see Sterling at right wing again. And that's meant, I don't mean that, it probably sounds really harsh. I think everyone, John, you're absolutely right. I think everyone expects him to be a right back at some point in the future. We've not seen him in right back to justify whether that's really a position that he's going to be good at or not. And I think from the positions we have seen him, he's looked quite handy in the centre of the park, almost as an enforcer. Right wing, nah, it doesn't do it for me there.
To be honest though, I think going forward, if you're looking ahead to the Celtic game, 'cause it's the next game we play, he's probably 11 for 11. If he's playing right wing, I think he's the only one of our players I'd say I'd confidently back him to beat his man. I think he'd bully Greg Taylor. Scott Wright stood on his toes at Ibrox and had. I think Sterling would throw him about, run at him, probably throw him about. Even if Taylor takes the ball off him, because he's no great technically, he's probably not going to get the ball off him. Like, he'll get at him, but he'll not get round him. And at that point, Tavernier can overlap him and stuff. And with the other options we've got now, ideally you'd have Seema there, because Seema was excellent at Ibrox when he done it. But if it's McCausland or Sterling, I'm starting Sterling at right wing.
And when you put it like that, and it probably speaks, John, to how little options we have. If Ross McCausland is the next available option, I think you probably are starting Dujon Sterling at right wing for next weekend and probably the games up until the end of the season now.
And see if there's an argument or antithesis of what our medical team are doing. It's whatever Celtic have done to Dyson Maeda, who was ruled out for the season and is back a week and a half later. And if you're telling me that it's Dyson Maeda, then you do need. I agree with Reiss on that. It actually needs to be Sterling again at right wing, because it even take the Greg Taylor argument out, which I think is a good one. Dyson Maeda can be left alone on James Tavernier. Dyson Maeda has a lot of flaws, but pace and work rate and energy, it's terrifying that he's back in that situation.
John, we went 1-0 down this afternoon, and it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe we went 1-0 down. I think we'll come to the VAR officials and the on-pitch officials shortly. Do you think Butland should have came and claimed the cross?
100%. I think there's only... It's a hard one because where it ends up landing, but I feel like when it gets rolled back for the cross, there's only one place that cross can go. There's nobody else in the box. Vassell's came out and built it up, put it to Armstrong. Armstrong's then rolled it back. There's nobody else in the box except Van Tab. The way it's hung up, I think almost Tavernier, the way he's had to step to try and get the line up as well, which is something we've always complained about. He gets the line up well, the player's just running at the exact point and he's stepping up. I think there's a hesitation that we've almost become accustomed to with the last 3 years of goalkeepers that we've had. And it just felt a wee bit like that. I seen Tav get a wee bit of slack for it again, but I think that just once again is another easy. That was a cross in behind James Tavernier that ended up a goal. I think Butland can come and even just punch it. I think he can come and do something.
Yeah, Reiss, same question to you. Do you think Butland could have maybe claimed that or punched it? Anything, just got to the ball?
It's a difficult one because it's in probably no man's land, but like John said, there's nobody else in the box, so maybe. But I think for me, Tav's got to deal with it better anyway. Like, regardless of what Butland does, even if Butland does miss that, your captain, a right back, should be able to deal with it, even if your keeper doesn't claim it.
I think John Brown said on the Rangers TV, he was co-commentating today, and he probably looked at it from a defensive point of view, and he was disappointed that the ball obviously gets to the back post, I think, in the first place, and just how we deal with that sort of movement from cross to back post as opposed to expecting Butland to come and take it. Listen, that was Kelly 1-0 up, and you could sort of feel a bit of tension at that point, certainly where I was sitting in the ground. 18 minutes on the clock, we got a penalty. And it would, John, I'll come to you first because there was a lot of furore over this, over whether the sort of Joe Wright should have been sent off, whether he should have been sent off, whether it was a penalty in the first place. VAR took what felt like 30 minutes to review it. I thought it looked like a penalty quite blatantly when it happened live in real time.
So this is the one thing that I think me and the guys that were sitting around us, me and a boy a couple of seats down, had clocked. When it came up saying VAR check, it initially had said offside.
Correct.
And after a minute and a half, that then changed to handball. So we were able to then go, obviously they've checked the Silva offside for the Lundstrom initial ball.
Yeah.
So they've checked for that first because they must have already decided it's a penalty. And then they're reviewing the penalty again to make sure they've got it 100% right. And I think they've worked backwards. Annoyingly, there was a VAR audio leaked, I think a few weeks ago. It circulated back up, and it was for a Chelsea-Tottenham game back about 5 months ago.
Yeah.
And I seen a lot of my mates in group chats saying this phrase, and it was, I couldn't have said it better myself. How can there be a situation that so proves that VAR works, but also proves that VAR should be binned in the same video? And it's that Kilmarnock rightly have had a man sent off, Rangers rightly rewarded a penalty, but it's taken 4.5 minutes to see that way. I'm like going, I'd rather just had the game go on and then moan about not getting a penalty later on in the day. That was what it felt like around me, because it had been 4 stoppages in the first 20 minutes. And I think I don't think I've had Rangers beat a top 4 side 4-1 so much, and the energy in the stadium feels so flat. And I think it was that opening 20 minutes just killed everyone, because we were a goal down. There was 2 different VAR checks. There was frustration on everything. There was people just around me just moaning, going, I would rather we didn't have this and had the penalty. Like it was like that energy. And I just feel like that's what's beginning to startle me, is how obvious it is. It's just a year ago when it first came in, I was like, I don't know where to celebrate goals, because there might have been an offside in that build-up, I think. To now it's like, I'm not even celebrating getting given a penalty and a player getting sent off. If it's right, I'm just completely numb to it. So I think today was just an advert for VAR working and how it actually shouldn't be used ever. It's how many times we're going to moan about this, but I just feel like that's what it was. The right decisions were made, but it just killed all the atmosphere for the remaining 70 minutes. And it was almost just like, see when it went 4-1, it was almost like, good, game's done, I can go up the road now.
Steve G joining us on our YouTube channel. VAR's only as good as the people in charge of it. The refs aren't good enough, which I think is absolutely right. I think it's a fair comment. Reiss, one thing we obviously do know is that James Tavernier stepped up and had his penalty saved. I love to say he missed it, because it was a really good save by the Kilmarnock goalkeeper. However, one of the things that we did see in the WhatsApp chat is the suggestion that the captain should now be off pens between now and the end of the season. Where do you stand on that?
Absolutely not. Not for me. I think that's probably just a bit of overreaction, but funnily enough, as he stepped up to take it, I thought that just he's missing this. I thought we've not had the penalty, we've had all these stoppages, it's just been a pure delayed, deflating game. I thought he's missing this, and sure as anything he did. But I wouldn't take him off him. He's probably the only guy in the team who you think, especially with the games we've got coming up, the pressure that's going to be on, any penalties we get between now and the end of the season, he's going to be the one that's used to it the most, and you don't want him to grin cold hitting penalties, so I'd keep him on them personally.
So I would keep him on him personally as well. Certainly for now until the end of the season. Who knows, we might bring in a striker that can score for the penalty spot at the end of the season, which will be very interesting. I'm sure we'll speak about our current number 9 between now and whenever we go off air tonight. Reiss, I want to stick with you because as you say, the first half was generally quite flat because of all the furore around VAR at the start. Going 1-0 down, half time we get back into the game in the 8th minute of added on time, primarily due to VAR. And it was Fabio Silva. Well, I have to say, a really tidy finish from a John Lundstrom cross. Celebration for me, a wee bit on the strange side.
Yeah. Great time to score. I think if you get into half time 1-0 down, it's a totally different Kelly reaction. It's a decent enough goal from, kind of bundles it in, and the celebration is just, for me, it's just pointless. It's like you've had a couple of good games, you've been nowhere near the hype at any of the clubs you've been at. Don't start pulling your name up in the shirt, because it's not been worth anything, and it's still not worth anything when you score a goal against Kelly at home and it's a meaningless game, and then to tell the fans to stop being quiet. I think the guy said it in their immediate reaction earlier. It just seems like he's kind of burned bridges with the support, and I don't think it comes as any surprise that there was kind of rumours circulating on Twitter that he's not going to be at Rangers at the end of the season. I think that's just agent speak based on the reaction that he's got ever since the Old Firm game, and it gets to the point where you think, mate, you're digging yourself a hole here, and your performances aren't good enough to get you out.
Yeah. John, are we being overly harsh on... Now, I know you like Silva, and I think you're probably going to tell me that he's not playing in the position that he's primarily meant to play in, which I get, I understand that, but are we being overly harsh on him? And have we seen what we all expected to maybe see from him when he came up in January from Wolves?
I think the truth probably lies, as everything does, it's in the middle in context. I think the best football I see for Silva tends to be when Diomande and Campbell shift over nearer to him.
Yeah.
And you get little combinations, you get little movements where I go, yeah, he probably needs people on that wavelength. He can't have Dessers, Barisic, Lundstrom being the ones that are combining with him, because I do think he's somebody that's came through at a different level. And that level is probably not suited to Scottish football with the players that he's playing around with. So I think there's that element. I think he looks okay. I think there was a few breakaways where I think if Dessers had came closer to him in the second half, there was little 1-2s with Lawrence that could have been made, etc., where I just thought the combinations were there to be done. So I do still think there looks like there's something in there. I like him. I think out of the options that you've got, if I'm putting him 1v1 against Johnston in an Old Firm or McCausland, I'm going to want Silva in that position in the Old Firm. I actually think he works deceptively hard off the ball, which is going to be vital for the Old Firm. I think he gets on people's nerves a little bit with the antics, and I just think that's a British culture thing, because I know it's the same down in England when people behave like that. We cannot seem to get our head around it. As for the celebration, I'm all for it. Like I would be all for Dessers going through all my tweets if we win the league and he ends up top goal scorer, and retweeting all my tweets to everyone on Twitter. I'd be all for that. I like the fact that we are so badly opinionated and so vocal, and we're a horrible fan base to deal with. Like, I know that. I know what I'm like. I don't mind that. Silva has been at dogs abuse. To be dogs abuse of me, I can see it on Twitter. So I don't mind that if he scored the goal to get us back in the game, that he's given a wee bit back. I just think it looks bad when it's directed at the one portion of the fan base that's pretty much on side for every player for 90 minutes all the time. If he came up to my seat and pointed at me, then fair enough. I would be like, cool sound.
Do you know? I think it's a fair point. I think a couple of the guys have said in the chat they would just have preferred to see him grab the ball and get back to the centre circle and refocus. Of course, it was the very, very last action of the first half. Rangers going one each. Half time, lose Leon Balogun. We don't know at this stage, I don't think, for how long, but we have a big game coming next weekend. John, I'll stick with you because I know this is something you're really passionate about. It gave us the opportunity to bring on Ben Davies and have a left-sided centre-half playing as your centre defender, left-hand side, and John Souttar at last gets to play in the position I think we all believe that he should be in, that right-sided centre-half this afternoon.
Yeah, no, and thank God Ben Davies didn't lose both his legs in that accident that I had proclaimed to have happened before, because it looks like we're going to need Ben Davies getting into an Old Firm.
Absolutely.
I just, so one of my things was, I know Gavin had put it in the group chat. One of my things was I jumped on Y-Scout when I got home and just had a wee look at a lot of the passing stats in the SPFL over people that had played more than 10 games, and was very surprised to see that John Souttar and Ben Davies are our only two players in the top 10 for passing metres per game, progressive passes per game, and long pass accuracy and a percentage. And the way that I've seen us play against Celtic twice under Clement is we've been very direct up to Dessers. Yeah. And it seems out of the four, John Souttar and Ben Davies are the best partnership for that type of passing. The issue will probably be what we've seen in that Old Firm that they played together was the errors cost us the game.
Yeah.
John Souttar, to get back onto that point, John Souttar for me is the best defender at Rangers, and I know people are going to keep going on about what he can't do and the mistake they will have. I keep saying this, John Souttar's playing at Rangers for a reason. It's because he's got those errors in him. If he didn't have those, he would comfortably be playing in the English Premier League. But he has those errors, so he's at Rangers, and he will be at Rangers. He will go for a ball he shouldn't go for and make a mistake and give away a goal-scoring opportunity. It'll happen in the Old Firm, by the way. It's what everyone else does. In that one scenario, does Jack Butland bail him out, and do we keep a clean sheet later on? That'll be determined. But John Souttar will have a mistake in the Old Firm that lets Maida Kyogo go through on tab side. But it'll be how he plays the rest of his game. I'm happier that Balogun would be out if it means John Souttar plays right centre half in that Old Firm.
Do you know, it's interesting to hear you say referring about Souttar, and you're obviously commenting how good he can be if you reckon he can play in the top league down south. Do you see? I mean, I think John Souttar is 26, maybe
26.
Do you see that happening in his career ever?
No, I think John Souttar's somebody that's going to be with Rangers for the next, it could be 10 years.
Yeah,
I don't think John Souttar will move away from Scotland, and I think John Souttar will be pretty comfortable staying in this country with his family. I know he's got businesses up here as well that he runs up at Brecon and stuff. So I think John Souttar would have had to have his career trajectory continue and not have the injuries he's had. No, I think John Souttar. I've said this before. I think if Tavernier leaves, John Souttar's captain for me. That's who we are. That is the consistent esteem I'll hold him. I think he is actually a natural born leader in that side. I just don't see any way out. I just think John Souttar's one of those players that Rangers fans just need to accept that we do not have a Richard Gough, Alan McLaren, Gordon Petric anymore. We're not at that level. We are not at that level anymore. We're at a level where our defenders will make mistakes and give up goals. It's just, if they were any better, they'd be elsewhere.
Aye. And I think in a situation like that, it's going to come to probably quite an obvious debate as the next sort of 10, 20 minutes goes on. If you have that unreliability, if you like, at the back, you need way more certainty for the guys that are playing up top, which we will come to. Reiss, it was Ben Davies that, of course, got us back into the game and in front. The Kilmarnock goalkeeper Dennis sort of spills a Lundstrom effort, and Davies is there to tap it in. I wrongly thought it was his second goal for the club, but apparently he wasn't awarded the Betis goal, and I was sure it was him that knocked the Betis goal in. It's certainly his first domestic goal, I believe, but I'm sure he said post-match that the Betis goal wasn't awarded to him. As far as Davies is concerned, Reiss, left-sided centre-half, really like seeing it, gives you balance, gives you maybe a bit of security. I just wonder why Ben Davies has fallen so far out the picture of recent.
I think the same. I think anytime you see Ben Davies, he never looks terrible. He always looks uninterested. Never looks poor on the ball. He's a good player, but he's always sort of reliable. I don't think he's ever had many total howlers for us. There's maybe one or two, but anytime he's come in, he's looked all right. Yeah. The fact that he has been so low down the pecking order that a 36-year-old Leon Balogun's come in front of him probably tells you that there's more than meets the eye, but he was all right. And just as you said before, and John had spoke about the VAR stuff to begin with, as soon as that goal went in, I thought, is he offside? Is he kicked the keeper in the way in? It's going to be given a foul. What's going on here? And
can I celebrate it?
Genuinely celebrate it. I didn't celebrate it until I'd seen the replay, and I was like, right, it's given. But it's just relief at that point. And it's quite strange that the two guys who have probably come under, if not the most, then one of the highest level of criticism in the squad, scored the two goals today. Silva and Davies. I think you ask 9 out of 10 Rangers fans, they're telling you they're punting the two of them in the summer, and it was they two that scored the two goals. So it was good to see, and glad to see that he can actually come back in, having never really looked like he's fell in love with the club or anything, and put on a performance like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I thought we got a good half from him, to be perfectly honest with you. I thought we got a good 45 minutes from him. I think, like you've said, Reiss, I think he's quite a decent footballer. I sometimes think there's an argument that you don't need to be a necessarily good footballer to be a good defender. I think they're two entirely different things. And I think Ben Davies is quite a decent technical footballer. I think sometimes he's, from a defensive side of things, and John, I suspect you agree that he's just not a best defender, but with the ball at his feet, and maybe it's because he's a lefty, he seems cosmetically quite clever, I think. And it'll be interesting to see how this week goes. And the fitness of Leon Balogun, we obviously know that Connor Goldson's now missing for the remainder of the season. I would imagine we go into that game at Celtic Park next weekend with a back two, unless he changes things, of course, with a back two of Souttar and Ben Davies. So we shall see. Third goal of the afternoon, John, was an absolute cracker. It's a headline for the pod tonight. Lawrence Screamer. It really, I've seen quite a few decent goals from Rangers this season. Tom Lawrence's goal was an absolute beauty this afternoon, wasn't it, John?
Yeah, and it's actually like a goal that I've expected him to score umpteen times for us. I think it's something that Tom Lawrence has always been good at in his career, scoring from outside the box. And actually, it's one of those ones that it almost infuriates you when you see how easy it seemed for him. See, when I've not seen it back on TV or that, but when you seen the replay on the big screen, the one from straight behind the goal, just how nice and composed it was, just side footed into the top corner. And that is where you go, like, he gets in those positions a lot. I know, like, you think back to PSV, hits the bar. I know it was a couple of years ago, and I know we missed him for like a year pretty much. But that's what Tom Lawrence is good at, and that's why. See, any time I've seen the lineups where it's been Campbell and Lawrence both in midfield, I've actually been like, we've got a creative one, and we've got one that will hit shots from distance. Seems like the perfect match is 2-8s to me, but it just feels like the two of them haven't get it. They're just two of those players that don't seem to be able to work together because they probably want to occupy the exact same space.
Reiss, were you surprised that Cantwell came off for loans?
I sort of was and I wasn't. As soon as you go ahead, you think just kind of get your players off. I think Kelly down to 10 men at the time, they were never really going to come back into it. As John said, the Armstrong substitution I think killed them. I think when you seen him coming off, you're thinking we've got a result there. That's I'd centre back taking off and probably their best player taking off. So I thought at that point you're comfortable. It's just making substitutions for rotation's sake. And I'd seen Cantwell come off. It's not the first time. There's always one of them plays, if not two of them, and typically one of the two will get subbed at 60 minutes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was good. I think, it's good to see Tom Lawrence getting game time. I think we would all have preferred to have seen more of him and got a bit more consistency from him. John's absolutely right. He's been missing for a large part of his time up here to injury. I think he will be one of the ones in the summer that disappears. I would hope he has another couple of medals to do that. Last goal of the afternoon for Rangers came right at the death. John Souttar with a header. John, our second. Now, I seen you posted something on your Twitter before we came on. Our second goal from a corner this afternoon, and of course another centre half getting it. It's unheard of for Rangers.
Yeah, I know. It's actually, now that I've got deep, so you'll be happy now that I've gone at this. Now that I've got into the deep dark corners of like corner stats. So any corner that is still in that third phase of the pitch, from when the corner is taken before possession is secured of the opposition, is still a goal from a corner. So although there was 4 phases, I think, between the Coslin shot and Souttar's header, it's still a goal for a corner. The second one obviously is a direct corner. It's a shot off the edge of the box. Yeah. But yeah, two corners. I actually didn't think our corners were great. I didn't think our corners were great the week before. And we got 2 weeks ago and got a goal from it. But at least getting results one way or another. Just very happy with John Souttar, to be honest. I think John Souttar, see, when I see John Souttar attacking a ball, I feel way more confident at any point that John Souttar's going to put a ball in the net than any other centre half an hour. I think he's the one that looks most like. I see when people tell me that John Souttar's gets caught under the ball or he's hesitant, stuff like that. See, when it's the other way, I don't think that. I think John Souttar would throw his face at a moving car if it meant there was an opportunity to score a goal or block a shot. And I'd be very happy with his contribution. Future Rangers captain John Souttar's contribution to the game.
Yeah. Do you know, I kind of am with you. I wouldn't, if we ever get to the stage where we have to change our captain, which of course will come, if John Souttar's still around, I wouldn't be too disappointed with the idea of him taking on that role. Reiss, I wanted just the last thing that we'll probably say on the match today and the players on the pitch. Game time for Ridvan and Raskin and McCausland all getting some game time. On Ridvan, I think it's important that we see that he is able to come back for this injury that feels like it was ages ago now. But maybe in this order deal with Raskin first, getting him game time at the moment. I think a lot of people wonder if he's fancied or not. It's good to see him getting on and just getting involved, trying to get in about it again, because we could need him between now and the end of May.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was a few people saying they would start Raskin ahead of Lundstrom next week and stuff on Twitter today as well, which I think is probably a bit premature, but it's good to see him back. I think it's fair to say Raskin was great last season for half a season and then hasn't kicked his rear end this season. So to see him coming back, maybe injuries have blighted him a wee bit, and getting them back, just get a bit of familiarity into him, get him kicking the ball again, get him playing at match speed, and it's good to see him back that we've got options, but I don't think he'd be somebody I expect to come into the starting 11 for the rest of the season, personally. Ridvan was good to see as well, but I'm glad he came on the day because his passing was shocking, so hopefully that gets out of him. And then McCausland was all right. He's just a totally different option for Sterling. Like, the left back's gone for this massive guy that you probably need 2 different lorries to get round, to Ross McCausland, who's built like that. And
we nippy.
Tricky.
Yeah.
He's like wee Jack Russell.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair, and I agree with your assessment on. I was glad to see Ridvan back on today. I think we know that Borna Barisic is disappearing come the end of the season. You would imagine that Ridvan's going to hang around, all things being equal, for next season. So it's important that he gets some game time, and it'll be interesting to see if he does indeed start next weekend. John, I want to speak to you about Mo Diamande. I felt today was excellent. I felt he played really well today. I remember when we announced that he was cut up, we didn't announce it, when we spoke about it after we knew he was coming in, and you were extremely pleased. Are we seeing a version of Mo Diamande that you like? Is there other bits that we're maybe not seeing yet that we'll like even that a little bit more?
So, I mean, I think I've said this on Twitter a few times, but just to clarify this, Northland have sold 3 of the players. When I watched them against Fenerbahce beat 6-1, 3 of their players I called out as being absolute stars: Mo Diamande, Ibrahim Osman, and Adam Nagalo. Adam Nagalo is probably going to go to a top 4 Premier League club in the summer. Ibrahim Osman signed for Brighton for 90 million, so he'll be going there, which might actually help us get Sima. It's just a side point there. And Mo Diamande somehow within contract is somebody we've been able to sign for a snippet of the money that they've been taking in for other signings. So one, I was stunned that we were even anywhere near the table. 2, the money we actually got him for is ludicrous. I'm assuming we've given up like a 40% transfer fee down the line, but that doesn't matter. He's at Rangers now. And 3, I just think this is somebody that if he stays fit, he's not really got a glass ceiling. It's English Premier League level. It's good money to Rangers. I think what will help, and this is a bugbear of mine, and it's clearly a coaching thing, it clearly is John Lundstrom in the build-up, dropping between 2 centre-halves, ends up looking like a spine right down the team of a straight line of Lundstrom, Diamande, Campbell, Dessers, all in a straight line that cannot be passed to, that cannot get the ball, they cannot create an angle to do so. To do so, Diamande has to come as a side 6, so does Campbell. It ruins the whole structure of a team. We end up putting a ball long up to Dessers that breaks and nobody's in there. So a lot of what I see Diamande doing is actually putting pressure on centre midfielders, winning the ball when it drops in there. But he's actually doing it from a really negative position because he's trying to filter into where Lundstrom's evading. So see if we can get Lundstrom to stay behind that line and just play in there. I think you'll actually see Mo Diamande start to really break presses and win the ball back even higher up, to the point that he's winning the ball and playing a through ball right away and getting more assists. Right now, I feel like a lot of his dogged work is then having to get the ball to Campbell or get it forward to somebody else to do something before the final move. And I think Mo Diamande, when I watched him at Northland, was getting assists, was getting goals, was breaking into the box. And that was just what was frustrating me with Lundstrom, is I feel the deeper he comes, the deeper Diamande has to come. And the less away from where I actually see his talents, which is creating chances and scoring goals, we become, because we've seen it in his first 2 games. The guy's got great technique, striking the ball with both feet. He's someone that would get us 15, 20 goals a season, providing we play to his strengths. And off the ball, his press and recoveries are unbelievable. I think people just need to actually watch when the ball's in the air against teams in Scotland and watch where it's breaking and watch how quickly Mo Diamande's there to pick up that ball all the time. I kept seeing this in the first couple of games. Oh, he's dead slight though. Yeah, he looks slight, but he's so strong and he wins back the ball 1 and 2. He's winning at 50% of his duels, which is pretty strong in that midfield. I honestly think this guy, it just, again, you have to say this as a Rangers fan, right? If he stays fit, I honestly think he's going to be the one that breaks our transfer records, and I think we'll see next season just him. He could have a season like we're seeing a Matt O'Reilly have for them, which I hate to use that comparison, but it's goals, it's assists, it's a winning team.
Sid, who watches us every Sunday from Toronto, hi Sid, good afternoon, I imagine, where it is where you are. John, do you think Sterling and Diamande are, if we're going to play 2, if we are going to play 2, and I've not seen anything from Philippe Clement to suggest that it's not going to be 2, are Sterling and Diamande the ideal, based on what we know just now? Are they your ideal combo in there, do you think?
I don't think Sterling's good enough technically. I think Sterling off the ball is great. Works hard, wins his duels again. His tackling percentage is really. His tackling percentage is better in midfield because that's where most combats are happening. As for on the ball, his passing's really sloppy. His stats back that up, so it's not just a statistical thing. His eye test is there to see that when he played in midfield, a lot of his best work was when he picked up a ball and drove and gave it to somebody else very simply. I don't particularly like Sterling in there. I'm going to continually reserve judgment of Sterling until he actually maybe gets a run of games at right back and see what he's like in a natural position. But I think Sterling's best work's actually off the ball, and I think Diamondi covers it. I just think Lundstrom maybe being coached to be in a more aggressive position more often for me would solve the problem. I think I don't know whether it's cautiousness of centre halves having the ball, or if Lundstrom's been told to be actively getting on it, or if Lundstrom can feel the tension and doesn't want to feel like he's hiding, and he wants to actually show that he's doing something. I can't tell what it is, but I do think him dropping in there is causing a lot of the problems, and we're not. This is my problem with John Lundstrom. I think my biggest problem with John Lundstrom is I've seen him score goals for Rangers outside the box. I've seen him today put in a cross that gets us back in the game.
Yeah.
So I'm always tearing my hair out going, why are you taking the ball off a centre-half? That was like Barry Ferguson at the worst point. Stop walking up to centre-halves and taking the ball off them 2 yards away. Get the ball 15 yards away and break midfield and get forward, because I think that's what John Lundstrom's good. I don't think John Lundstrom's good taking the ball off John Souttar, who actually I think is a better passer of the ball than John Lundstrom. So don't insult us by coming and doing that. Do what you did for the first goal, get forward, and I think you would actually feel less like Diamondi needed a different partner, whereas Diamondi just needs John Lundstrom that's doing a better role than I think he's currently trying to do in this team.
Yeah, listen, I totally agree with you on Lundstrom. You're just looking to see a better version of him, to be perfectly honest with you. I think you're looking to see a version that is a wee bit more offensive, as you say. I always remember one of the things, you'll maybe remember Michael Ball, that played with Rangers, not particularly often. But anytime Peter Lovenkrands was playing in front of him on the left-hand side, they were almost marking each other every single time. That sort of clash of one going to the other happened way too regularly. Really frustrated me. Reiss, I want to come at you next, because a bit of a hoo-ha. We're in the silly season time of the season, and everyone gets kind of scunnered and peed off with wee sound bites that'll appear in the media and will happen all week. Brendan Rodgers, of course, said yesterday, post-match after the Celtic victory over Hearts, that he was looking forward to his team having a little bit of fun at his place next weekend. And Philippe Clement referenced it post-match today. Where do you stand on this sort of banter, if you like?
I think Brendan Rodgers is the most arrogant flat-track bully in Scotland. I think he's had a few good seasons against Pedro Caixinha and a 48-year-old Bruno Alves, and he thinks he's the bee's knees. If he went down to England, he'd be laughed out again, and he's up here with the biggest budget and the most successful team in recent history, and trying to act like he's a ticket. To be honest with you, I think he's trying to get sound bites for the media, and he's clearly rattled me, to be fair, so it's probably worked. But at the same time, I absolutely hope we go and scalp them next week, purely so it gets rubbed in his face. It's one of them that he just makes it so much easier to hate them, and it's brilliant.
John, same question to you, because as I say, Philippe Clement has referenced this today, and so CGM has jumped in and reckons that the gaffer should have ignored it. There's an argument for that. John, as a supporter, and you hear it, see it, read it, what are you saying about it?
I would have rather ignored it, because I don't think he said anything. He spoke for 2 minutes on it without giving any really insight into what he said. He just seemed to say that he thought it was a bit disrespectful. I don't know, man. I would have rather, if he was going to speak about it, I'd rather he snap back a bit more stronger. I just felt like I'm with CGM. I think if he didn't have anything that was going to bite back, I wouldn't have even referenced that. I would have let it go. But then somebody's asking the question, so there's a lot more uncomfortable if you get asked about it and then you don't answer it. Yeah. So I understand he's been asked it, but I just wish maybe he'd a wee bit more than something, because I don't know. I think there's been a lot worse said than that in the build up to Old Firm. So I'm a wee bit like Reiss. Like I don't mind it, but when I'm absolutely rattled by somebody, like I always see when I've got like mates on both sides that go, like, I don't sit and watch Rangers games. I don't watch it. If Celtic are on and I'm not doing it, and I'm watching the Celtic game until they're winning and then it's getting turned off. I don't understand these people that hide behind it and pretend it's not the case.
So I'll let you know what he's been quoted as saying. I'm reading this off on our screen, so I apologise. I heard yesterday, and this is Clement post-match, I heard yesterday they are going to have some fun, so we're going to have some fun there also. It's not really respectful to my team. And he then went on to say he would never say that about an opponent. Okay, we will see. So interesting, Reiss, that the gaffer just sees that as a bit of a show of disrespect for Rangers going to his place next week. I think you're right, Reiss, on your description of him across the city. I think it's absolutely quite fair. Hasn't been properly challenged. And as I say, listen, it's the last Old Firm game of the season. There is loads riding on it. And it's going to ramp up sort of tenfold from probably now onwards, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think even today it just felt like a bit of a procession, just get through this because we've got the Old Firm game next week. And at one each, you're thinking, oh no, they can win the league next week. So that was why I think there was a lot of urgency, as in let's go and get another goal and stop this rot here. I think it's interesting. There's part of me that thinks Clermont would absolutely wipe the floor with Brendan Rodgers. So I just kind of, there's part of me that wishes that it sort of came to that, but maybe not. And then this week's just going to be massive because it is just all or nothing, really, isn't it? I think they've definitely. I still don't think this Rangers team's got an Old Firm win in it. I think it's a bit of a foregone conclusion next week, to be honest with you. But the fact that Clermont said, I heard it was fun, so we'll have fun too, makes me think it's almost like that's his way in a second language version of English of saying, I'm pinning that in the dressing room and we're going for it on Saturday.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what we as supporters probably want that to be. So you want the guys, if they're going back into Auchenhowie tomorrow or Tuesday, whenever it is they're back in, that they're seeing that plastered all over the place, because it's quite obvious that they think we're just going to go there next weekend and we're going to roll over and get our belly tickled. And I'm never hugely confident about going to. I must be honest, I never have been. I do think that it makes it almost that little bit harder, John, with having no Bears there to support them. When the chips are down, I can't help but think that we should have players in there that would react to maybe having Rangers supporters in the crowd. Of course, it's worked both ways this season, because they've came to our place and scored 3 against us. We scored 3 against them a couple of weeks ago. I don't think there's any danger that this Rangers team will go to Celtic Park and score 3 goals, for example, next weekend.
No, I mean, I think we'll score. I've no issue with that. I just can't for the life of me see a scenario where Celtic don't get up. I mean, let's be realistic here. See, if you take away the pettiness over the ticket allocation, there are endless amounts of videos of Barcelona, AC Milan players talking about how intimidating going to Parkhead is when they've won Champions Leagues with their fans there, with Celtic fans there. So let's be clear that there is an intimidation around Parkhead, especially if you're one of the players in this squad that have been there, been scudded, been owned by your own fans, getting called serial losers, know the mentality to be in this team. All those comments get through, and it gets worse, and it creates an even bigger monster as it goes. Yeah. And we're even sitting at a point where it's Old Firm week in a title race, and I'm with each one of you, and everything I see on Twitter is, I don't believe we're going to go to Celtic and win. I just don't see it, and I think it's even more disheartening to know that if we're getting 1 by 1 goal, you're still not even top of the league. You're still like waiting on Kilmarnock to do something and us winning all our games. It's just, I'll always hark back, see the title race we're going to always think back to that Ross County home game. I think I always will look back at that and think that we could have been level on goal difference right now, just in that game alone. And it kills me to know that you could have went to Parkhead and won with a single goal, fluky goal, corner, something, just nicked it and been top of the league. But you still need to go there and win. If you want to go top, you need to win 3-0.
It's incredible. That boy Dickens that night it's Dickens, I'm sure, wasn't it? If memory serves me right. Aye, he was absolutely incredible. He really was. It was fantastic. James Glasgow, who's watching on YouTube, surely we need to overload the midfield next week. John, where are you? If you're picking your midfield, not your full team, if you're picking your midfield now, who are you going for next week?
As today.
Yeah.
I don't see how it changes. I don't see how it can change. My only hope is that Ridvan gets a good week's training and can start, because I think there was a lot. I think it's been really underestimated. I know people have said it, but I think it's really underestimated that Redvan got injured during the international break, and since that international break, we've been all over the place. I know Reiss referenced his passing. Redvan gives the ball away a lot because Redvan takes a lot of risks with his passing, and a lot of those line breaking passings were how we were starting, especially the Hearts 5-0 game. A lot of the line breaking passing was from him into centre mids, and it just feels like we all know it. It's you see it with your eye, but you also it's become like a parody. Barisic receives the ball, goes back to the left centre half and drops. Like it just is, but it just was. Whereas Redvan, it felt like he was always trying to find the centre mid, or he burst with pace into centre mid to let it go past him, and it got to the wide player, and he was already past, and he was underlapping. Just looked quicker, and I think with although the boy Kuhn on the ball is quality, I'd like to actually see more of what we could do, making him go the other way for Celtic.
So this is interesting. Hold on a second. Reiss, I'll come to you first on this. Hold on. CGM 55, I wouldn't have Cantwell anywhere near the team next week. Gets wound up far too easily. Sterling, Lundstrom, Diomande in the midfield for me. This is a difficult one. I don't know if we can go to Celtic Park almost without starting Todd Cantwell as an out, someone to carry the ball, someone to perhaps offer us something creative in that part of the pitch.
I think John's referenced that a few times, maybe not in the pod, but more so in the chat, that the poorest times that we play are when we lack ball carriers, and that's what Cantwell is. I think for me at Parkhead earlier in the season, he was a few touches too many, he was slowing things down, he was miles off it, but at the same time, I think most of the team were miles off it at that point. I'm like you, I don't think we can go to Parkhead without Cantwell. He's the most creative player on the team. He's got a bit of, I suppose, flair in him at times, and it's like you put him on just in case it happens. Like if you have put somebody else in, so Sterling, like the guy in the comments references, he's not going to play a ball through to Dessers to run onto, like we've seen today. He's not going to reverse a pass into Fabio Silva between the right back and the centre back. Cantwell will. Sterling, absolutely no chance. So you give yourself that option, and for me, albeit I think it was probably one of the worst games I've seen him play for Rangers at Parkhead earlier in the season, you definitely need to have Cantwell in your team at Parkhead.
Yeah. No, I think so as well. I don't think we can go there without him. John, I mean, we've never seen Clement sort of change his ways, if you like, since he came in. We've always sort of got that traditional back four. Taking into account, we know that I think it's fair to say that James Tavernier struggles with Maeda running at him generally. Do you think you go to just to support James Tavernier? Do you go for a bit more solid defence, maybe a back five even going into the game next weekend? Would you be happy? I don't know if we see that now, to be perfectly honest.
I think a back five. I think you've got Dies and Maeda. It's the cause and effect. You put a back five in, yes, you might stop Dies and Maeda breaking because you've got a right centre half to back up if he gets past you. But what then Dies and Maeda definitely does is Dies and Maeda can occupy the right centre half and the right wing back, and we never get up the pitch. It just kills it. I don't think we're in a position to change anything. I think it's going to be very direct. It's going to be very uncomfortable to watch. I expect it's going to get rolled to one centre half, and that one centre half is going to ping it up to Dessers, and we're going to hope it drops to Cantwell, and Cantwell creates something, because those little pockets.
That's what it's going to be. It's going to be like that, isn't it?
Aye. And those little pockets that he picks up, Reiss is right. When I watched that first half back, especially, I just felt like there was like Cantwell, if you just shifted it off that one touch less, there was a chance to play a through ball and you were in. But then he played a really good through ball to McCausland for his chance that was perfectly weighted. And that's where I just think Cantwell he's almost indispensable. See, I think somebody picked it up on the Hearts game. Like, although Cantwell didn't probably steal the show as much, in that first half, I think there was like 9 or 10 situations where he was in wee pockets where he could get the ball and the ball wasn't coming to him. Yeah. He's the only one with that intelligence to find those spots as far as I'm concerned. I do agree that he's a bit of a hothead, but I actually think Todd Cantwell is playing up a little bit when that happens. Todd Cantwell's had 53 red cards in his career and not been sent off. 53 yellow cards in his career and not been sent off once. Todd Cantwell knows where the edge is as far as I'm concerned, and I think the wind up with Celtic, I think, is a little bit for maybe to rile up teammates, something that Scott Brown used to do an awful lot, staying within the line, which was take a yellow wind people up, try and raise the players. I think Cantwell sees that, and I think he sees sometimes that players are not responding to what the fans would want, and he'll sometimes go in on McGregor, take the yellow card, and be like, "What's everyone else got then?" I think Campbell's attitude and petulance is totally misunderstood. I think he's more of a leader than folk give him any credit for. I think he's actually doing everything deliberately to try and, because every time I hear him speak, it's positive. It was about the team winning. Todd Cantwell is perceived, and it's like the Anthony Gordon interview that was on Overlap recently. I think everyone that listened to that went, "Oh my God, I've perceived him completely wrong by watching him on a football pitch." And I think Todd Cantwell is the prime example of that.
Yeah. No, listen, I think you're absolutely right. I think Cantwell's he's quite a clever young guy, and he's certainly he's a lot smarter than I think he's given credit for, to be perfectly frank. Reiss, one thing I don't think we can sort of get by when we're looking at the game next week is any chances that we do get in the attacking third of the pitch. John, calm down. Any pitches, any opportunities we do get, I don't think we're going to get lots of chances at all. I think I saw JB jump into the chat today and reckons that if we're getting 2 or 3 chances, we need to take 2 or 3 of those chances, i.e. we need to be really sort of clinical when we get to the tickly bit of the match, if you like. Do you start Dessers next week?
I think you've got to. I've been on here before and I said I think Kamal Roof's a myth. I think he was a good player back in his day. We've not seen it. He's coming in out the cold. The last couple of times he's been on, he's been awful. And Dessers has been all right. His numbers kind of back it up. But instances like today make you think, absolutely not. See, if we put a stipulation on Dessers all week in training, you need to shoot first time, you've got 1 touch, that's it. He'll be fine. Carries that into Saturday. We're jamming. He could have had a hat trick today if he shot first time. But like Cantwell at times, he takes 7 touches when he needs to take 1. He'll go into trouble. He thinks there's nobody behind him. He'll turn into a defender who's covering back and will lose a shot.
Yeah.
I think he's just... It's at that point now where I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that he just scores goals, because he's cost me 75 quid with his goals with that bet we've got.
Let's not forget that.
It was so frustrating today. There was one where Tav does so well just to nick the ball across to him today, and he could hit it first time, takes a shot, tries turning back, and he walks right into Robbie D's. And against Celtic, you're barely going to get a couple of touches, so he's the only option we've got. That's the only reason he's starting, because otherwise I'm not even sure he's in the squad.
John, you look like a cat in a hot tin roof there. On you go.
So that, see, Reiss is getting on the edge. Do you know what's really bothersome with me? And I agree with Reiss. Everything would be first time. It would be literally that pressure. He'd be putting scenarios, and he would be doing that all week. Doesn't need to be involved in the team. He just needs to get whatever this is. We make jokes about it and chopping and nutmegging goalkeepers. Whatever this is about assuming there's always a defender diving in, because there was even the one that Reiss has talked about. There's also one that comes down his right side, and it's perfect weighted to hit first time on the right foot, not the one that's coming across him. And he also tries to chop inside. And the one in the first half, he seems to just chuck himself at the ground. I'm not really sure. I've not seen a replay of what even happened there. Chops inside when it was on his right foot to hit again, and then chops back outside. So it's almost like, see the goals that he scored that are good, and you go, that was a really nice turn. I'm going, was any of that deliberate, or was that just him assuming a defender was where he is? Because right now he's making me feel like it wasn't. The one thing I will bite back on, and I've seen this reimagining on Twitter of Dessers, that 20 goals and 50 appearances is a good record. 20 goals and 50 appearances is a good record in 1991. 1 and 2 was good for a centre forward. Centre forwards score a goal a game now when they're in top teams. Haaland, Man City v Wolves is probably similar to Rangers v Kilmarnock. Haaland had 5 chances and scored 4 goals yesterday.
Yeah.
Dessers had 4 chances today and scored none. Dessers has done fine. That's the limit to it. The Ross County games, as far as I'm concerned, individual games like that could have cost us the title. He scored 2 goals. He should have had 6 that night comfortably. Open goals twice missed. We're in a situation where goal difference matters because this league is so tight. And we've got a striker that's got 20 goals but should have 35 at least, as far as I'm concerned. I don't even think it's a debate. I think he should have that alone in the SPFL with the chances he's created.
So I think you're absolutely right. I don't think there's any doubt that Dessers should probably have another. He should easily have another half a dozen goals. I think I'm being kind to him there, to be perfectly frank. John, we're just about approaching the death. Last question I'll ask you is, what percentage do you have of us getting a result next weekend?
How many times we won at Parkhead? Like once, twice in the last. Since we've been back up, is it twice? 2 wins? Is it 2 wins since we've been back up in divisions?
I think so.
Well, I'm giving us that as like a percentage of games, so you're about 10 to 12%. I'm giving us that's where the odds won't represent that for some reason. The bookies will have us at like 2 to 1, 3 to 1. Should be a lot higher than that. I'm giving us about between 10 and 15%. I just can't. Yes, it's an Old Firm and all the cliches that can happen in a derby, but can it? Can it? Aye, 10%. There you go. I'm going to agree with Steve there. 10%. I can't see it. Celtic just seem to have this.
Aye. I think that's, they just seem to have a bit of a flag. Chris Cherry, 56%. That would be nice, Chris. Reiss, same question to you, buddy. Give us a percentage of how. Well, I think I know what you're going to say. You're right in the doom of it all just now, aren't you?
Aye, I'll go 5. At least you have seen us win at Parkhead, man. I think I've seen it once. I've been in Parkhead twice. Get beat 5-0 one game, and the Clint Hill equaliser was the other one, which felt like a win, to be fair. But going there having to win with this Rangers squad, who will be bricking it because they've all got trauma, they've all got scars for previous defeats, I'll go 5%. I don't think there's any chance whatsoever that we come out with a win, really.
Do you know, I think you raise a really good point, and this is, it's kind of the thing that concerns me a little bit is, and if Tommy McIntyre's watching tonight, or indeed he will, he spoke a lot about sort of the stigma of going there previously and just not getting never mind not getting a result, not particularly having a really good performance generally, and that's levelled at quite a few of the guys that will inevitably be starting. Depending on how Redvan's week goes, you would imagine Borna Barisic starts at left back. That concerns me off the back. Like it or not, I don't think Tav's had a particularly great time of it recently, and I don't think he particularly finds these trips to Parkhead a great laugh. Same story, John Lundstrom. So the Todd Cantwell, I don't think is particularly turned up in any of these games so far. This is absolutely the game that we need them to do it. We need them to sort of puff their chest out and get on with it. And this week is going to be full of tosh and all the obvious things about people taking offence to this thing or the next. And we're going to have it all week. Listen, we love it. Let's be perfectly honest. We absolutely love it. John, I'll let you disappear for the night. It's always good having you on, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers.
And Reiss, always good having you on as well. I think you need to go for a cold shower, because I think the Brendan police will be coming to your door very shortly, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
Honestly, it just... Nah, I don't like the comments. Always a pleasure to be on, guys. Cheers for having me.
What we should say, and we shouldn't walk by the fact that the Rangers women are playing Celtic women tomorrow in the league at Broadwood. It is it kind of looks like it could be a decider. I'll be there tomorrow for the podcast. Kendall Matthews and I will be there, and we'll be reporting back from that, letting you know how things go. Joe Potter, of course, going for a treble, and I would argue if she does it tomorrow, she's got a great chance of getting that. Don't forget, if you're looking at us across social media, we are everywhere. Where you would obviously expect us to be, X and Facebook and Instagram. If you're following us on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment. Make sure you are subscribing to us so we get these followers up, and also hit your notification bell on so that each time we do release content, you can check us out and join us and get involved in the commentary. We are also available wherever you get your podcasts, as you probably imagine. The guys are back on Wednesday from 8:30. Good luck for following all your Old Firm nonsense that goes on between now and next weekend. Have a good week. Bye for now.